Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're now looking through the front pages of the newspapers. And all the way from the abroad, somebody has finally come back to Nigeria. I'm hoping you brought chocolate. We have the head strategy and public affairs Nairametrics, Uhade Ahimie. Welcome back.
Abroad can be
Welcome back to Nigeria.
It can be Cotonou.
No. We went to.
Olive Modi.
I'm setting you up, Abi.
Yeah, you can't set me up.
Because you are a setup yourself.
I mean, me and myself, I'm a jinta.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
I don't see chocolate, I don't see anything, but it's okay. We'll tackle that one after the show.
Even Canadian dollar is very expensive now. 1,200 naira to a Canadian dollar.
1 2, that's affordable compared to the dollar.
What's the difference?
Dollar is like almost 1.6 now, US dollar.
400 naira difference.
It's a lot of money. Do you know what I can do with 400 naira? Anyway. I'll add a little extra and buy my egg from that person opposite the gate.
Wow, Olive is already talking.
Yeah, I'm very hungry. Okay, let's go to the Daily Trust newspaper and see what the front page has for us this morning. On the front page of the Daily Trust, Benue killings, arrest perpetrators, Tinubu order security chiefs. Today is World Sickle Cell Day. Patients battle high cost of drugs and access to treatment. And I think it's an important conversation to have because unfortunately, we've lost one of our own to sickle cell here. I mean, I got the news this morning, and it was the most devastating thing I've heard in a long time. We can't talk about our journey here in News Central without talking about the impact that Ejiro had with us. So hearing this morning that she had passed was the hardest thing, really. So our heart goes out to her family, to her children, her girls, who she worked, labored day and night for. Everything that Ejiro did, she did for her kids. And we hope that one day they can look back at these times and remember their mother as a hero. Okay.
Man. Wow.
Very sad.
Yeah, that was very sad.
What a way to return to TV.
I know.
Very sad
Sickle cell is been around. Until you experience or you see the people who go through the pain and trauma, you really don't understand how bad it could be. And if they don't get attention on time, like you said, unfortunately, we lost Ejiro. May her soul rest in perfect peace. And God grants our loved ones the wherewithal to be able to bear the irreparable loss. But
it really is it's a sad one.
Yeah,
very sad.
But the other thing for me would be that we should, as much as possible, in today's world of technology, do all the necessary tests. And if you're not compatible, I know some people will say, anything could happen, and if you love each other, yes, go ahead and hope for the best. But at the end of the day, if it does happen, then you need to be able to manage the situation well. And
no, I do not think that there should be an intentionality with going into that. If you must do that, then you must recognize that there are medical alternatives to that and not put any child
so like I said, look for all the alternatives possible. And if it does happen, then try as much as possible. First and foremost, we would complain about the poor state of the health system in Nigeria. And I don't think if we had better health management system that you would have people, well, when it's your time, but it would be better managed in my own opinion. And I think it's something that the health sector really needs to look at. And it's just sad.
It's really sad, honestly. And I'm hoping that we can have more research in the area of sickle cell, not just research, but funding, because it's a sub-Saharan African disease. We don't see, I mean, you don't meet a Westerner and the first thing they're asking you is, what's your genotype? It's nothing, it doesn't concern them because they're good. But because it's a sub-Saharan African disease, we find that maybe there's not been a lot more investment done in that sector to help improve the quality of life.
And I agree with you, because if you look at more advanced world with people who have leukemia and similar kind of cells and blood issues, there has been a lot of research and a lot of money and funding into ensuring that you get the best medical and even medication that you can use to manage it. Asthma is another one, and so on. So I just think it's just the neglect and people looking at it and saying, oh, the, you know, the cultural background and to it and so on and so forth. But if people have sickle cell, then you need to be able to manage them. I knew someone who I have been in that position before, so I know what it means to have to spend or have to rush someone to the hospital late at night and spend sometimes 2-3 days just trying to manage the crisis, the kind of pain they have to go through and all. So it's just sad, really.
It's really sad. Maybe in honor of Ejiro, we should probably have a full-on conversation about sickle cell,
Yes,
the impact.
I think you
yeah,
should.
so we probably will do that tomorrow. Today is World Sickle Cell Day, so we'll probably bring in a representative tomorrow to just talk about the reality of what it is to live with sickle cell in Nigeria and what support they've gotten. Imagine if we already have a healthcare system that's struggling, imagine how much worse it is for people living with sickle cell.
And just to buttress your point, I think it's really, really important we start to enlighten Nigerians on how you can quickly manage some of those things.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, I was reading something on one of my WhatsApp group yesterday. A 10-year-old that almost died because he had asthma, and asthma impounded the father's vehicle, and the boy was gasping for it. If you've been an asthma patient, like I used to be, then you would understand what it takes when you are gasping for breath, and all you just require is just a couple of shots of inhaler just to calm you and get your body system to try and move. Because sometimes it just might be too late and you don't get the kind of oxygen that you require. So it's really important that there's more enlightenment in these areas, sickle cell, asthma, and like you said, medications are getting out of the reach of the common man. And so what do you do?
Even in cases of emergencies like the one you just mentioned, where somebody knows they've had an emergency, in the Western climes, you will see people wear handbands that let you know what, in case there's an emergency, maybe the blood group, what they're dealing with, so you can be able to help get them some help.
And I think parents also and family members should be more open with some of those things, so that in an emergency situation, people know what to do and how to attend to those kind of situations. But I guess we need to go on a more enlightenment campaign, especially for, like I said, sickle cell, asthma, diabetes, and just managing yourself. People live with diabetes and grow old.
Of course, people live with sickle cell
all those
people
live with asthma and
I mean, I'm asthmatic, so I do understand that if you're able to understand it and you're able to manage it the best way possible,
and get those around you to better understand what you require,
what you need, and so on. But let's move on now. Still on Daily Trust. Bandits killed 24 farmers, others in Katsina communities. We're not done with Benue, but first of all, let's have your overview. I think that's where we'll start from. Before we go back, you could have that mixed in your conversation. You can look at both of them, but the key conversation is Benue killings, arrest perpetrators, Tinubu orders security chiefs. What's your take on the president's speech yesterday and every single thing that played out?
Also, first and foremost, I think and this is my opinion, and first and foremost, I think he's a more, what's the word, sympathetic human being. When you compare him to the previous president who, for so many killings, he didn't even visit some of those places. But he's shown some emotional intelligence by visiting first and foremost, almost immediately, Benue State. He's visited some other states too. But the fact remains that the security issue is coming back to the headlines in the news. And this is something we've been talking about for God knows how long, for the last 1 year. But everybody has been saying, oh, he's under control and so on. Another 24 killed in Katsina, the Benue issue. What beats me every time is when you try to trivialize some of these issues into community-related crisis, which hasn't happened in Nigeria for a very long time. And when community-related crises break out we know what the aftermath can be, retaliatory attacks and so on. But in Benue, I haven't seen that. That's my opinion. I haven't seen that happen. So when I listened to some of the things he said yesterday, I was just like, are we for real? Are we going to continue to use kids' glove to treat the security situation in Nigeria, which over the last 10, 15 years has just been abysmal, really, in my own opinion. And every administration just seems to believe, oh, by putting boots on the ground is going to change the way the security architecture is. There is no more community relationships. I know growing up, what you call community and neighborhood policing and security. But like I said, this new age in Nigeria of I better pass my neighbor syndrome. Everybody just seems to turn the other way. We're talking about sickle cell now. We're talking about security. You see something happening, all you want to do is quickly film it and put it on your social media pages. And it beats me that even the security operatives are not enlightening Nigerians more, like we continue to do. When you enter your car or you enter a car, pin the doors. When you're walking in isolated places, look around from time to time. But nobody is telling us all these things. Where you suspect things or movements around you or things happening around you, report to the nearest security organization. Nobody just says anything anymore. We just come out and say, oh, another 24 Nigerians were killed yesterday.
Yeah.
So Nigerians, 24 Nigerians. I can't count the number of Nigerians that have lost their lives in the last 15 years over security issues.
It's a big of a problem.
And we shouldn't even be counting that.
Yeah, it's worrisome. It's worrisome, especially looking at. I mean, take a look at see the Daily Times there. If we can put up the Daily Times, the front page there. It says Tinubu sets up elders committee, demands land for ranching, about visit to Yowata. I think for me, my major concern has been committees. Right from my years in sports journalism, I remember then a committee was set up for monies that were lost. Committees were set up for when sports commissions and so on did not account for money. Down to our time, we've seen commissions set up. Even during this current administration, committees have been set up for tanker explosions. Committees have been set up for a whole lot. But yet, we don't see, even the former administration, President Muhammadu Buhari set up a committee on this same Benue State, of which the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibajo, was chairing that committee. Even the same committee, sorry to take, just to highlight, this same committee, I just remembered now, this same committee that the President said should set up, remember that he came up with a Ministry of, what's it called? There's this ministry, Livestock. Ministry of Livestock, of which the president is the chairman of that ministry, and the former INEC boss is actually the deputy chairman of the Ministry of Livestock. So why is there also a committee to look at ranching? I mean, it's your take.
Until we start to treat things as economic businesses, we will continue to miss the points. Some people will tell you, some people will say, oh, why they are just a capitalist. No. My belief is the business of government is to create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. And part of this enabling environment is to set out policies and implement those policies and drive those policies so that people will adhere to them. In today's world, I don't see where nomadic farming is still existent. In Ghana, last year, when some of these things happened, the police actually arrested cattle rearers. They killed a few cows. That's the Ghanaian police, because they were encroaching on farmlands, and there was a court order, a Supreme Court judgment, that ensured that those things shouldn't happen. Now, what does it take to be It's first and foremost is more economical. You have so much land in Nigeria. You can get investments into this business, get healthier cows, better quality meat. So why are we still living
Dairy products,
in
milk,
I don't want to go
benefits.
into all the things that will come out of it. But why are we still living in the 18th century? Because that's how it feels like, cowboys and farmers.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's, you know, when people say cowboys, that's what they were. They were nomadic farmers who moved their cows across territories just to get grazing, until also the farmers fought back. And everybody decided, you know what, the best way is the cowboys and the farmers should become friends.
It's a tough one, really
Well,
tough one.
I guess, like I said, until you have the political will to do the things that you need to do, I don't think we'll
Anything will
move
happen.
beyond where we are. So it's just unfortunate. We'll sing this song again, maybe in another 6 months down the line.
Daily Trust, very interestingly, has two headlines that are contrasting. We can touch it very quickly. At the top right corner, we see how fake agri credit providers, in quote, dupe farmers. So a number of people have been seeing opportunities to, quote unquote, invest in agri. Turns out a lot of them are fraudulent. Meanwhile, if you look at the bottom, you will see 1 year in office, 1,339 projects and counting. You can see agriculture and livestock projects that have been listed. This is, of course, in Borno State, talking about Governor Babagana Zulum, I believe.
Yep.
And the projects that they've been able to execute in Borno State. Why I'm highlighting that fake agri credit providers is important because we just came out of CBEX, and CBEX Pro Max was announced recently. So I think I may be concerned about our susceptibility to falling for scam.
Well, so susceptibility to falling for scam comes from a number of reasons. And a major part of it is economics. And this get rich quickly mentality that some people have. Oh, you see, by the time you hear about it, is coming to an end. Based on my own knowledge as my background in finance, by the time the likes of you and I hear about it,
they've long scammed the number of people.
That means you are the ones that are paying for the people who have collected all the monies that they needed to collect. That's why it's called a Ponzi scheme. It's a pyramid. So those at the bottom, are you with me? Those at the top have moved on and have moved to a new scheme. You people are now just trying to cover that hole. And it will continue. But it's unfortunate. Why? Because regulators, policy makers, security, and all, there are no consequences to a number of all these things that have happened. And it's happened over time. I know growing up much younger, forum. The thing happened, and what's it called? The main actors just moved on. They fled the country. Excuse me? There's no Interpol, you know? So what exactly are we talking about? Are we really ready to grow an economy? All of a sudden, the economy has tanked and want to hit $1 billion in.
But they will tell you that, the new NBS report says inflation rate has dropped. You know, that's what they will say, that the NBS report shows inflation rate has dropped.
I'm a data person, so
yeah,
maybe I need to start gathering and the NBS really needs to tell me where all that data comes from. Because, yeah, and I see a lot of that data, you get, but the numbers I see on paper and the reality I face
on ground
when I go to the market are two different things. So it beats me as a data person and an analyst that maybe there's and I'm not saying anybody's doing anything, but you know, the way you read and interpret, everybody reads data differently. I can see, so what you see from a particular set of data might be different from what I see.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. And it depends on the methodology you use. So
All right.
let's leave it at that.
Well, that's how we're going to anchor today's show. I want to say thank you so much, Uhade, for being here with us on the front pages of the papers. And thank you, too, for watching. It's been a very, very fruitful one. Don't forget, the team will join us live from Borno State at exactly from the hours of 11 and 12. So do not miss it for anything. But the ladies of Jasiri will be here at 10. That's after we leave the studio. Thank you for watching. I am Joe Hansen.
And I am Olive Emodi. Thank you for joining us. We'll continue the conversations virtually at News Central TV on all social media platforms. Thank you, Uhade Ahimie.
And thank you for making this very short.